I live in a glass house. I cannot throw stones. But when you talk about teams that really are in dire need of a rebuild, perhaps the one team that comes to mind is the Vancouver Canucks, led of course by Jim Benning, but no more. We are taking over, and we are going to turn the Vancouver Canucks around. Now obviously, being a Bruins fan, I like to take my shots at the Canucks and Canucks fans for 2011, but I can't say I hate the Canucks. You know, I'm a huge fan of the Sedin twins. Marcus Naslund is one of my favorite players of all time, and then of course you have guys like Ronning, Pavel Bure, Trevor Linden. It's a very history-rich franchise, and it has a fan base that deserves better than what they're getting right now, and that is the goal, is to give that fan base exactly what they deserve, and that is a competitive team that should be competing for cups. Now before we get into this, a couple of quick things. Number one, as far as players I have essentially taken out of the game, we've retired Vinny Lecavalier, we've lowered Pavel Datsyuk's overall to the point where he is unplayable, but his cap hit still counts, much like a Chris Pronger or a Mark Savard, and as well we have added a few NCAA prospects. Now, unfortunately, as you see with the free agent list here, there's a lot of guys who simply shouldn't be there just because of the way the game handles the salary cap and teams who were over the salary cap. We also have a few players on Vancouver I have added myself that will probably help out a little bit, admittingly. But on the free agent list, there are two big names. Number one, Jimmy Vesey, the Hobey Baker Award winner, is up for grabs. Now, I don't necessarily plan on signing him, as it is, we are full on contracts, but I do plan on trading away at least one or two guys to open up a roster spot for Drake Kagula, a national champion with North Dakota, apparently a target for the Vancouver Canucks, and I absolutely want this guy on our team. Have I overrated him? Have I overrated him just a little bit in terms of top 6 high potential and already at 80 overall? Perhaps, but he is one of the most complete prospects to come out of the NCAA in a long, long time. Now, as far as prospects that I've added myself, we have two. First up, two-way defenseman, high top 4 potential. It is Troy Stecher, a just gem of a defender who I think is going to be a steal for Vancouver now that they have signed him. And as well, probably a little bit predictable, but we've added Thatcher Demko as well. I was very tempted to go with elite potential, but much like we saw with Malcolm Subban in the Bruins GM mode, he may grow to elite, so we start him off at high starter potential. Our first order of business, again, making a quick trade to free up some space. It's Blomstrand and Alex Friesen off to Winnipeg for a 4th round pick. And as we've hoped, Drake Kagula has signed with us. It's a 1-year deal, but again, if we miss out on the playoffs, we'll be able to work things around and we'll definitely be able to re-sign him next season. So here's the team in the meantime, and guys, I really don't plan on changing things up too much. I'm not going to get rid of the Sedins. I'm not going to get rid of Edler, Hamhuis, Ryan Miller. We're going to keep the team the same, at least for the first half of this season. As you can see, our top line is still the Sedins and Radim Vrbata. Second line, we're going with a bit of youth, guys who have to prove themselves, mainly Emerson Needham. He's with Bo Horvat and Jake Virtanen. On the third line, it's who should probably be our second line with Burrows, Sutter, and Higgins. And on the fourth line, it's Prust, Kagula, and Yannick Hansen. Let me try it again. Hansen's probably a little bit lower than he should be, but he fits in on the grind line. Hamhuis with Edler, Hutton with Tanev, and Lukas Spiza with Yannick Weber. Defensively, of course, the goaltending is the same. It is Miller with Markstrom. And as well, I'll give you a quick look at the AHL. It's pretty much a jumbled mess. Again, we have 49 out of 50 contracts now that we have signed Kagula. And just look at how many scratched players there are. Very low overall. Plus 6 more who aren't even being shown on screen right now. We have a hell of a contract logjam that we need to figure out. Taking a quick look at the goaltenders, as you would expect, Thatcher Demko will be the starter with Richard Bachman as his backup. And getting a look at the defense, and guys, I promise you I didn't switch this. I left Trampkin at what EA put him at which I believe was top 6 potential. For some reason, he's jumped up to elite. I'm sure you guys have experienced that before, where players just randomly jump up at the start of a GM mode. I'm not exactly complaining as it is, and I'll give you a quick look at this before we move on. He does have medium trade value, so I think it's kind of false potential, but regardless, he's playing with Stetcher. We have Andre Padan and Taylor Fedun as our second pair, and then Anton Cederholm is with Jordan Subban. Offensively, not too bad, but there's still some guys we really got to get rid of. We have Gauns, McCann, and Castles as our top line. Berchkis, Granlund, and Anton Rodin, who probably doesn't have a bright future here, being 24 years old already. Bill Sweat, who was, I believe, the designated captain. He has a leadership qualities, so we'll keep him. He is with Ronald Kennens and Lucas Jacek, who knows. Darren Archibald, Mike Zalewski, and Alexander Grenier. Alexander Grenier is our fourth line at the moment. So you've seen the team, haven't made too many changes except the free agent signing of Drake Kagula. Let's get into this regular season. The preseason is over. We have back-to-back games, a home-and-home against Calgary to start. Ryan Miller's in net, and we start off the campaign with an overtime win against the Flames. And looking ahead with Miller in net, we're going to give him up until the LA King game. The rematch against the Flames does not go our way. It's a 1-0 shutout. Have a quick scouting assignment to take care of as well. Again, if you haven't seen this, normally I like to go week by week. If you haven't seen one of my GM series before, I like to go week by week to skip some of this, and we get shut out 2 games in a row. Wonderful start. Thanks for the false hope, Vancouver. Markstrom will get his first start of this new season right about now. I'll take a look probably at the end of this first month is when we'll probably stop. We'll take a look at some stats probably in the next episode, the start of the next episode, because I do have a lingering question I want to ask you guys. But let's see if Markstrom can get the win. He does. It's another shootout win, or the first shootout win, another overtime win. I will take that. And as much as I'm tempted to keep Markstrom in, let's go with Ryan Miller. He's the big money signing, and again, we need him to step up big for us this season if we're going to have any hope of even fighting for the playoffs. Moving forward, and we're going to pretty much go with Ryan Miller for the rest of the month here. He faces off against his former team, the St. Louis Blues. We get shut out for the 3rd time in 4 games. We do get a win against the Oilers, though, to rebound. We will go with Miller essentially for the rest of this month, as I like to do, giving our goalies the back-to-back games just to get the rest in there. We get a 5-4 win against the Washington Capitals. We lose in the shootout to Detroit, pushing our record to 4-3-1. These scouting assignments are ridiculous, and you may be asking yourself, why am I doing it on a week-to-week basis as opposed to 6 weeks? I am still screwing around with the scouting. We all know it's a little bit weird in terms of certain players. You know, you scout that area 17 times for 6 weeks apiece, and you still have players who show up as unscouted during the draft. But anyway, getting back to the sim, Markstrom in goal for our last game of this episode. Obviously before, a 3-2 win against Montreal, shutout again against Dallas, and we get shut out again against the Arizona Coyotes. So goal scoring appears to be a little bit of an issue. We are in a wild card spot in the West, despite getting shut out 4 times already in the first month of the season. So this is going to be pretty damn interesting moving forward. Now, before we end this episode, and it's going to be a little bit of a quick one, I do want to keep these condensed. Jimmy Vesey, he's still a free agent. We have 1 roster spot left. Do we try to sign him, or do we leave it alone? Again, I don't want to stack up Vancouver with too many free agents. Of course, Demko and Stetcher are both already with Vancouver. Kagula is rumored, but should we sign Jimmy Vesey, or should we keep that spot for potential waiver claims or some trade maneuverability when the time comes? But guys, thank you so much for watching the first episode of my new GM mode. I hope this can be a jumping on point for a lot of you. Obviously, the majority of people who found this channel probably found it after the Bruins GM mode already started, and it can be pretty difficult to latch on. So here's the new starting point. The Bruins GM mode series will be continuing We're probably going to go up to at least episode 10, or I should say season 10. Episode 10 was long ago. Can you tell I'm tired? But the Vancouver GM Mode series is here, and I can't wait to see how this goes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.